A crazy bitch. Hey, you bitch, he murmured, you're in my sights. He said, looking directly into the woman's eyes. Virgil began to feel his body tingle, as if he wanted to hunt that woman. It was a feeling so unique. It was the first time he felt so free. What a good feeling, he said, looking at his hands, feeling as if what was wrong fit into place. His body, although heavy, as if he were swimming submerged in a dark sea, but gradually, the immense weight began to disappear, and he felt as light as a feather. The woman was unmoved, seeing how he was. Damn it. The woman in front of him murmured, seeing something he couldn't, a strange aura surrounding him. She pulled out her two-edged spear and advanced towards him. She approached him with a deadly advance, but with a single glance, she stopped immediately. Virgil didn't notice, but his eyes were a pure blood. That is impossible, she murmured, sensing something strange about this man. Instinctively, a smile appeared on Virgil's face as he saw the woman. Is that the smell of fear? Virgil asked the frightened woman, analyzing her body. He didn't know what happened, he only knew something changed when those women, whose faces he barely knew, spoke. His hands were tingling, as if they wanted to beat her to death. In a single second, demonstrating extraordinary speed, he appeared in front of the woman, his fist clenched as he delivered a straight punch to her face. The impact was devastating. She was thrown back with brutal force, tearing through the street like paper and colliding with the wall on the other side of the street. Ah! She roared in pain, spitting blood from the impact. Bia! She vomited blood as she tried to recover. Her wings, which she had used to avoid the impact, were completely shattered. Virgil looked at his hand, in shock. Okay, that was definitely not a dream. He said. The tingling in his hand wouldn't stop, it was as if he wanted to hit her more. You bastard! The woman shouted, from across the street. She stood up, wiping the blood from her lips. Her eyes focused directly on him. The woman's wings, which seemed broken, twisted as they returned to their proper place, and she lunged back towards Virgil with surprising speed. But for Virgil, the world just seemed slow, as if his body and brain hadn't fully connected. This is, he murmured, feeling something coursing through his body. It was a new sensation. She attacked with a powerful kick, which Virgil blocked with his forearm. Although not an exemplary athlete, he had boxed when he was younger, and the movements were almost instinctive. The force she exerted made the ground beneath him sink and crack. Virgil countered with a right hook, but she dodged at the last moment. Virgil's fist colliding with the concrete and creating a crater in the ground. This boy's strength, a reincarnated demon wouldn't have it on the first day, she thought. Jumping back. Who are you? She asked, almost accusing him of being something. He looked at her confused. You should know, until last night I was just a drunken idiot, he said. Despite being scared and somewhat suspicious of the situation as a whole, he was still honest. This man, he didn't even know what he was. Why was this crazy woman questioning him about it? You're the one who has to tell me, he said, charging forward again, catching her off guard. His speed was increasing, much more than she could anticipate, and the strike was precise. The woman was sent flying again. With a powerful move, she crashed into a parked car, the vehicle deforming from the impact. The silence that followed was almost deafening. Not a single sound was heard. Afterwards, nothing but silence. Virgil looked at his hands. They were injured, blood dripping over them. And even though he was squeezing, he felt no pain at all. On the contrary, the sensation was as if he were becoming more and more alive. He looked at the fallen angel trying to get up. She killed me once, Virgil murmured as he began to walk towards her. His gaze had completely lost itself. At least he no longer resembled the gentle man who once walked calmly down the sidewalk. He looked mad to quench his thirst. He approached the woman, still trying to recover, and grabbed her by the neck, lifting her up. He lifted her effortlessly, and that's when he realized, you look so pretty when you're crushed like a bug, Virgil said. In his eyes he saw not a woman but a worm to be eradicated. He began to walk with the woman, still holding her up by her neck, and, with a cruel motion, he drove her face into the asphalt. The impact was again, completely brutal. Virgil continued pressing the woman's face against the asphalt, his crushing force creating cracks that spread across the ground like spiderwebs. The sound of the concrete breaking mixed with her groans of pain, but Virgil was beyond any compassion or hesitation. The woman, desperate, tried to free herself, her wings flapping frantically, but each movement only intensified the pressure Virgil was applying to her. The asphalt began to yield under the relentless force, sinking as her face was buried deeper and deeper. "Virgil, stop," a voice echoed from a distance, but he didn't pay attention. He was completely consumed by the feeling of power, by the euphoria of having absolute control. "Please stop," the woman whispered, her voice barely audible. But instead of mercy, her plea only fueled Virgil's fury. He lifted the woman again, holding her by the neck, and threw her against a nearby wall, the impact leaving a deep mark on the structure. He approached slowly, with each step, more of his humanity fading away. The woman was on the brink of collapse, her spear lying a few meters away, and her eyes, now filled with fear, stared at Virgil with a mix of terror and disbelief. He raised his hand, ready to deliver the final blow, but something held his hand. "Enough, you've crossed the line." A voice, the same that had shouted his name moments ago. A young woman, around his age, appeared. Her appearance was familiar to Virgil. She was one of the girls from college he had seen before. Beautiful Asian girl with a voluptuous figure, long black hair, and violet eyes. Her hair was tied in a long ponytail, reaching the ground, with two strands coming from the top and leaning back. "Enough," she repeated, and Virgil saw her eyes shine as she let the fallen angel drop to the ground, unconscious. Virgil looked at the young woman in front of him, the anger in his chest fading as he tried to process what had just happened. "What?" he questioned, blinking as he looked at her. She was there, holding his hand firmly, but her touch was surprisingly gentle, contrasting with the brutality he had just shown. He didn't obey the order, the girl thought, seeing how the man seemed startled by the scene. "There's something wrong," she thought again as she looked at his face, somewhat distorted. "Let me go," Virgil said, looking at the girl. His face seemed upset. Immediately, the entire body of the Jiri trembled, and she immediately released his hand, tingling that almost hurt her. "What?" she stammered, seeing that something was wrong. "Who are you?" he asked while still hearing the fallen angel trying to crawl, but he immediately placed his foot on her back, pushing her further into the ground. "Help," she begged, almost clutching at the girl's legs beside her. "Your voice is familiar. Who are you?" he questioned again, looking at the girl. Even though he had seen her in college, he didn't know who she was or what her name was. The girl struggled with her need to answer, seeming to be forced to reveal who she was. She fought against it, but immediately her whole body trembled. Ada, she said, and immediately, what the hell, don't tell me." It seemed like her entire body stopped feeling the insane weight of Virgil's words. "Who is she?" he continued his questions, seeing that Ada didn't want to answer directly, but something was forcing her. "A fallen angel," she said, fearfully. She didn't want to look at him this way, even though she couldn't stop staring into his eyes, as if drawn to him. There were three voices. Virgil questioned. "So you remember, huh?" Ada said, as she slowly moved away from him. "The transformation worked, despite the error," Ada commented, as they continued to stare at each other, never breaking eye contact. "What am I?" Virgil questioned, seeing that Ada was slightly calmer. "One of us, a demon," she said, showing him the two wings that emerged from her back. Virgil watched the scene, not understanding how all of this was happening, but, arg, he had another outburst, his head hurting so much that he started to fall. Virgil, the girl, began to scream while trying to stop what was happening, but he passed out. Damn it, Ada said. I'm sorry. The fallen angel continued to whisper, trying to heal herself. But you asked for this. Insolent one, Ada said, concentrating a reddish energy on the soles of her feet. Go to hell, she said, applying pressure that devastated the fallen angel's head, causing her brain to scatter in all directions.